Okay. Good morning, everyone. I am Sophaline Mao from Success Against the Odds podcast, and I have the honor today of interviewing the incredible Mrs. Joanne Tan. Yay!
Good morning. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joanne.
Hi, Sophie.
Thank you for my coffee this morning. She got me coffee. So we are in her beautiful event space here called Good Morning Maxwell, right here in downtown Livermore. So I'm super excited. I just couldn't wait to have a chat with Joanne and really just, talk about where she's been and where she's going and how things are. So how you feeling this morning, girl?
I am excited.
Me too. Me too.
It's been quite a week for us. We've been very busy with all the different locations that we have. People are back from summer break.
That's right.
So definitely from baby showers, bridal showers, meetings, mixers, it's just all happening.
That's amazing. Yeah. So maybe can you share with us how long has Good Morning Maxwell been here and what inspired you to create this event space?
So we opened February 27th of 2020. So literally 2 weeks before the pandemic happened, which was quite a journey.
Yeah, also. Yeah.
I think, at that time, I was still working for Parks and Rec at that time. I still had a day job, and I had opened the space with the intention of building a physical platform for working moms who had a side hustle, for stay-at-home moms who wanted to create something out of their hobbies and their passion and generate, a little bit of profit with whatever it is that they enjoy the most, whether it's baking, candle making, macrame, you name it. And I wanted to build almost like an incubation lab wherein people can host their own workshops, test it with the audience. And personally, for me, I wanted to be able to share my knowledge in building a business.
That's incredible, Joanne. And so go back again. You said you were working full time.
I was.
For Parks and Rec. Could you share a little bit more about that experience and what were you doing there?
Yeah. So I have been, when I opened GMM, I was in the hospitality industry for over a decade.
So that kind of makes sense because you have a hospitality background. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I worked for hotels for about 10 years. I moved from Manila, from the Philippines, when I was 20. As soon as I finished my degree at De La Salle University in Manila, I had moved here, and again, another perfect timing because it was 2007 and it was the recession.
Right, before the global economic crisis. Oh my gosh.
Right. I think it had already actually started because I couldn't get a job.
Oh my God.
In 2007, but I got lucky that I landed my very first hotel in San Francisco, close to City Hall. And my GM then took me under his wing and really taught me the ropes of the hospitality industry.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So it sounds like you had a mentor who kind of like guided you and showed you the way.
Yeah, I had, awesome. And I'm still very close to him until this day. He really taught me all the things that I need to know with the hotel. And running a hotel is just like, he always says, it's like running your own city.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you learn everything from food and beverage to guest service to housekeeping to staffing, interior design, operations, HR, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, but I had an amazing time at my very first property. I think I spent about 4 years there, and then I hopped, just like with any hotel people out there, they could relate. The way that you grow in a hospitality industry is for you to hop around from a tourist hotel to a convention hotel to a resort, for you to be able to really grasp the different types of service out there. So I spent about 10 years doing that, and then another 6 years. So after different positions, different hotels, hopping from San Francisco to San Jose and then West Region.
Wow.
I got lucky that I was offered a position for a private company that managed parks. So state parks and national parks.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
and how long were you there, and what was your role there?
I want to say about 6 years.
Oh, wow.
I was their first salesperson. They hired me primarily to build recreation and services and events at the different parks. When I had started, we only had about 16 parks.
Wow.
Which quickly grew by the time that I was there. I was part of the acquisition team, and so we would, go. A lot of people doesn't know this, but most parks would partner with a private company.
Oh, yeah,
to
I
be
didn't know
able,
that.
yeah, they build. They bring in a private company to be able to build campgrounds, marinas. Pontoon boats, jet skis. Maybe not jet skis.
I actually learned something from Joanne today. That's so crazy. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a partnership. It's a great partnership. That way you could, create more variety of services for the folks, and really promote outdoor recreation. With this new generation, it's just changed a lot. People don't, I guess, it's like 50-50. There's like a lot of folks who have just like stayed away from outdoor and camping. Yeah. They prefer glamping.
Yeah. I would be a camper, just saying.
My son's the same way, because when I had my son, he grew up while I was at the hotels.
Yeah.
So, room service and all. He would,
exactly.
At 5 years old, he'd pick up the phone and ask for room service, but that's free.
If there could be a way to go glamping with room service, I would be down for that, Joanne. So I hope you start up a new business and do that.
So actually, that's at the latter part of my career in with the parks, that's what I did. I had partnered with a glamping company, a company that specifically built glamping units, and we built glamping tents over in Southern California, in Utah.
Wow.
Yeah. So within the 6 years, we grew from 16 parks to about 26, 27.
That's massive growth.
So at that time, it was just like, I think you can relate to this, right? When you're an immigrant, a brown, Asian, petite.
That's the reality of it.
Yeah, and in America, there's so much desire to just be constantly promoted, and to gain more influence and I don't know, platform, I guess, and so throughout my career, the 10 years, from hotel, I started as an executive assistant. That didn't pan out too well. I lasted 3 weeks, I
John
think.
was like, I don't like being told what to do.
My GM was like, I don't think you're really an executive assistant material. But then he I guess, like, I have so much optimism and enthusiasm that he wanted to bring into this historic hotel. And so I brought a lot of that. I brought a lot of innovative ideas. And in my head, and actually I was very open about it. I keep telling him, at 23, I need to be a director.
Yeah, very ambitious. And I think that's one of the things as women, and as we change our roles as women, obviously when we become a spouse, a parent, right, Joanne? Or we're a daughter, we're also a sister. Sometimes we often put aside our ambitions. And so that's one of the things that I think, like for us, Joanne and I, one of the shared values that we have is, as women, as Asian American women, as also, immigrants, right? Like where we have the background of like coming to America with nothing, and building yourself up. Like we always feel like, ambition should always be something that we strive for, and that the people in our lives, whether it's our husbands, our parents, our siblings, or just our friends, that sometimes, I don't know how you feel about it, Joanne, but sometimes I feel like if you are too ambitious, sometimes it scares people off, and sometimes it puts people off, or sometimes it creates like this dynamic where they feel like, oh my God, like she's too ambitious, she doesn't have time for family. Or how do you, I guess I'm curious, because, I don't have children, but you are a proud mom and you do a lot. So how do you find balance, or not even just balance, but how do you maneuver around being a working mom and a business owner? Could you share with us?
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of actually my favorite topics to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's other women here who probably go through the same.
Yeah. But primarily because I have always been an advocate of not stopping just because you have, children. It doesn't mean that you can't pursue your career or you can't start your own business and that you have to give up your dreams and your career. Like for me, I was very lucky. I grew up in a big family that really supported women being in the workplace. And despite growing up in the Philippines, I had always taken the leadership role. I was always student council. It was more of that idea of, so I grew up with a single mom. So I didn't really have, a father, like the dad per se, in an Asian,
like that masculine
country. That like they were fans.
Energy.
And I was just like, like, that would be me. But my eldest brother, has always like stepped into that role. But he was cool, right? So he's just like, I'm here, I'll always support you. You do what you need to do, but just remember X, Y, and Z. So I had that latitude to really pick and choose where I'd want to be and who I want to be. I had Liam Maxwell, my son. I had him pretty young. I was 27. And I think, that was one of the most obviously life-changing moments in my life, but also with my career. Because all of a sudden, at 20, when I had started, became an EA, a project manager within like a couple of months after that. And that was my very first gig. That was my very first job. And then quickly, proved myself, and I did become a director in 23. I did get the director of marketing position in 23. Got very blessed and lucky working with the mayor at that time. So I did a lot of like mid-market rehabilitation. I mean,
that experience in your 20s is amazing.
Yeah, especially being new to the US at that time. I think that moment really taught me how much opportunity I really had. And it was just a matter of saying yes. Saying yes. One of my mentors said, like, just say yes, figure it out once you're there.
It's funny because oftentimes as women, we shy away from new things. And sometimes it's a feeling of, there's like that buzzword, like imposter syndrome. And really, imposter syndrome is just a lack of confidence. Right. But I agree with Joanne. One of the things that I've always been told too is like, if an opportunity presents itself, take it. And I think it was Sir Richard Branson. I think it was Sir Richard Branson. So shout out Sir Richard Branson. Thank you for that. No, but he said like, when an opportunity presents itself, say yes and then figure it out.
Yeah. Kind of like the fake it till you make it type of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I always caution people like, yes, you could do that in the beginning, but make sure you do your homework. You got to put in the time to actually learn it so that when you're in there already and you got the title, you got the position, you have something to show for.
Absolutely, Joanne. Yeah. And talking about, imposter syndrome, right? I think everybody, whether it's men or women or singles or, I feel like sometimes we all deal with that. So can you recall a time when you felt that imposter syndrome feeling, and then how did you kind of navigate through that and overcome it?
I want to say that I didn't, you know what? Funny enough, I didn't really feel much of that working for corporate because I felt like working for a company, working for a big brand. I also worked for the Fairmont as the public relations head in San Jose. There's a big brand in front of you. And there's an army of folks who are there ready to support you, back you up, whether you do good or you don't do as well. They have it all ironed out, So like, you're never really alone. Right. And ironically enough, I felt the imposter syndrome the most when I had Open Good Morning Maxwell.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Because all of a sudden I'm exposed. And there's nobody behind me. Well, of course, you have your family and friends, but like you don't have layers of folks
Yeah.
working for you or with you, right?
That makes sense. I could see that, because then once you're an entrepreneur, you are everything. Like you are the janitor, you are the marketing, you are the finance, you are the HR.
Yes.
I could see that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you are your brand.
That's
So
right.
every single comment, every single feedback that people say about the space when they rent it for an event or when we do a community event, a mixer, a market, anything, any comment, you know, this is why you really got to have thick skin when you own a small business.
Yes.
Affects you.
Yeah, because it's like it's your baby.
It's your baby.
And no one wants to hear that their baby's ugly. Like or you know what I mean? Like
and or like, oh, it's okay.
It's okay.
You know,
like,
it's all right.
You're like, no, I think to that point, Joanne, I do see that, because as an entrepreneur, like how you are, like Good Morning Maxwell, this event space, I could see when I come in the space, like every detail has Joanne, like a touch of Joanne, or like, you know, like the feeling and the I can see how one could take that to heart, right?
Yeah,
because, and especially, you know, people aren't always nice about giving feedback, right?
And for me, you know, being in the hospitality for so long, we're used to that, right? Especially if you go work for a high-end hotel.
Sure.
The things you hear is just like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Okay. I apologize.
Yeah.
Let me get back to you.
And you shake it off, right?
Yeah. And you know, you just like, all right, you know, like, okay, well, let's keep moving. Let's figure this out, and you know, and just brush it off.
Yeah.
But when you own your own business and you welcome guests into your space, and you talk about details, we like every single detail.
Oh,
you
know. You guys should see her bathroom. Like I walked in, I was like, oh my God, it's so cute. But Joanne has done such an amazing job with the space. And you know, like in terms of kind of where Good Morning Maxwell is at right now, what are your ambitions for the business? Because you have 2 locations now. So what do you foresee? Or 3?
Well, actually 4 under the brand.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. But let me, you know, I'll answer that. But just going back a little bit to what you asked me about being a mom and all that, because that's something that I really want to be able to share.
Yes.
So like I said, I had Leah Maxwell at the age of 27, and that really, really changed things for me. Personal and career, because all of a sudden, you know, I used to stay at work until 10 p.m. at night. Right. I would be there first thing, you know, if there's a JP Morgan conference in the city, Salesforce conference in the city.
That's right. You're like,
they're really like, you know, who created all the eye bags that I have. But it was just so much work. And all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, I'm sorry, I gotta go. Gotta head home. Gotta pick up my son from daycare. I gotta, you know, be there for my son's presentation at preschool. Yeah. And there's a certain, in the beginning, right, the first few years, a feeling of shame. Honestly, there was that feeling of like shame in both worlds, both at home, of not being able to be 100% present in all of my son's school activities and just like little soccer games and all that, because I have to be at this, you know, a trade show. You know, trade shows were the bane of my existence back then, because I have to like fly in, fly out, and I would miss 3-4 days of not seeing him, and he was so small, he was so tiny. So there was shame, and then also shame at work, feeling guilty for leaving home early. Right. And just like, it's 5 o'clock. Sorry, guys. Peace out. Gotta go. So there was so much of that until, I don't know really what happened, if I just got immune to it, or I got tired of feeling guilty. Yeah. But I think at the age of 30, I think it was 30 or 31, I got sick, and I went through a surgery. I had a major health issue at that time, and actually passed out while I was in the car. And, you know, in that moment we're in, and my son was with me, and then luckily my husband works for a healthcare company. Right. And so he rushed me, and I could just hear my son in the background asking, like, is she dead? Is she dead?
No, Joanne.
He was so tiny. And that moment just really woke me up.
Yeah. Like
I was
what really matters in life. What's important. Yeah.
What's the use of me killing myself, for another promotion, for work? And not to say that, that people shouldn't strive hard for a promotion and women shouldn't give their all in the workplace. That's not absolutely not what I'm saying. But for me as a mom, as a working mom, balance and prioritizing that family does come first.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joanne, again, from my perspective of, I didn't have children, right? So I definitely can empathize because I have girlfriends who share that. It's not like shame or it's not like guilt, but it's like you feel a sense of like you're not giving it your all at work.
Yes.
Right. Whereas like I would travel if I needed to. I would.
Yeah, you traveled a lot.
Yeah, like relocate. I relocated to another region of the world. And then I would stay late. So to that point, for me, but it is like a sacrifice as well, right? But then see, I don't have the joy of like knowing what motherhood is like or raising children or having that joy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
but what's funny is that in your 20s, the travel part of having to fly into another country, another city, a state was a benefit.
Yeah.
It was an amazing thing of like living in your luggage from your suitcase, right?
Or just seeing the world, right?
Yeah, seeing the world and have your company credit card to pay for, for your expenses. That was like living high. It's just like, oh, like I've made it, that feeling.
Absolutely.
And then you start your family and you're just like, no, thank you. I'm good.
Well, I think also... Yeah. And I think that's really great that you brought that up for a lot of our women listeners as well, is that your priorities change and your ambitions can change.
Yes.
And one of the things that I learned is that it's okay.
Yeah.
Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like you go through certain phases in your life, like you said, Joanne, where like maybe in your 20s, it's all about your career and traveling and seeing the world and experiences. And then once you settle down and you now all of a sudden you have this beautiful human life that you're responsible for, then your priorities change. And I think and that's okay.
Right. And it's okay.
Yeah.
And I think, as you mature, as you grow, as you change your pace, right, in life, because I felt like in my 20s, I'm always running.
Yes.
It's like you're running for the next promotion, the next title, the next this, the next, success story. You realize as you get older that your definition, your connotation of success changes.
Absolutely.
It changes. And mind you, it's not just motherhood. You don't have to bear a child. You don't have to be a mom for your definition of success to change.
Right.
It's just life unfolding and happening in front of you and being able to experience different things and you being able to identify what serves you.
That's it.
Right.
That's it.
At that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you nailed it. You're absolutely right. It's a matter of what do you want right now?
Yeah, exactly. And to your point, Joanne, like, as things happen, I was always, I was like single for like 40 something years of my life. You know what I mean? Let's be real. But once I got married and I said, okay, so my role, role changed, my priorities changed, and welcoming that new role, I guess, into your life. But also what's really important, this is something that Joanne and I often talk about, is just like, accepting that new role, but then also like, how do you preserve like your identity?
Don't lose yourself.
And not lose yourself because it's so easy to get pulled into it. And like, I don't want to say sucked into it, but you get pulled into like, oh my gosh, like I have to be there for my spouse, my kids. And yes, you do. But I have so many friends that like, sometimes they do lose themselves and then they go through tough times.
Right. And did you see the Barbie movie?
I did not see the Barbie movie. I still have to go see the Barbie movie.
You have to see it. You have to see it, amidst like the whole marketing stint that they've done, which is genius, by the way. The last part really talked a lot about that, about being able to be all that, excelling in everything, how high the expectations are for women to excel at home, in your workplace, with your friends, and to really be able to clone yourself.
And then that to me too, Joanne, is like that expectation of like being a superwoman, right? So sometimes like often I have learned to be better about setting healthy boundaries now, especially for the people that we love and that we genuinely, we want to please them, provide for them, love them, care for them, support them, right? But then sometimes what I've found is that it's draining at times. And then what I've noticed now is that if I don't align with that, maybe, like going somewhere or doing something like I've been better now about just saying, no, thank you.
Right.
And that's okay to say no. Like you don't always have to be a people pleaser.
Right. Absolutely. And for Asian women, in general, I think, maybe not in general, but like for many Asian women, it's very hard for us to say no.
Absolutely. Because we are, the values that are instilled in us, traditionally, right? Where, as the matriarch, you kind of have to
serve.
sacrifice
like you're always the last to eat. It's like, okay, go ahead. You cook for everybody and you serve everyone.
And you clean up after everybody.
Oh
my gosh. Yeah.
Props to my husband though, because he is an amazing cook and he does all the cooking at home. But yes, to your point, actually when Liam Maxwell was 2, I wrote a children's book.
Oh my God.
Precisely about this topic. So it's called Funny Bunny Feelings.
Oh yes, and
plugging it out there.
Yes, and I have a copy of it. So thank you, Joanne. We should put a link.
So it's Funny Bunny Feelings, and it talks about and my illustrator, she is talented. She's fantastic. I wrote this book.
The book is beautiful, guys. It's beautifully illustrated.
So Hannah Varela, she's from the UK, and she's like young 20s. Anyway, and I was telling her, like, I want the mom bunny to look very tired and exhausted with like,
let's be real, she is
batter on her hair and all that. And then it talks about this bunny who was like the best bunny and collecting all the carrots, and then all of a sudden, bam, she gives birth to 3 babies, and now she can't compete as well.
Wow.
But it really tackles and talks about. So I wrote that book. Actually, just a little secret to share won't be a secret anymore. It's a children's book, but it's actually, I wrote that book with the intention to write it for moms.
Wow.
For working moms to be able to process the feelings, the guilt, the emotions that they have whenever they come home exhausted from work after giving their all, and making sure that their colleagues or coworkers doesn't feel that they're giving less now because they're a mom. And still being able to have energy to read bedtime stories and to spend time and play with their kids when they get home. I wrote that book specifically so that when they read the book at night to their kid, they can cry it out, and
it's a way for them to process.
And the last part of the book talks about how you are enough.
Yes.
You're enough. What you give, whatever it is, whether it's 50%, 30%, whatever amount of energy and joy and love that you're able to put out there, it will be enough for as long as it's coming from you.
I think a lot of times, and again, that's like the whole journey of what we go through, right? Whether I feel like we always feel like, am I enough? Like, and always feeling like I have to do more. And for me, Joanne, like I felt that sometimes, I don't know why, but like, in my 30s, I felt like, okay, I already have this like career in tech, and then and then I felt like, oh, I want to go get my MBA, right? We talk about this. I'm like, and then I was like, no, I'm going to get 2 masters. So I went and got my master's in Asia Pacific Studies. But then I always felt like, I don't know what it was, but I was in a corporate setting, and people were getting promoted and given all these opportunities. And I think it goes back to like, am I enough?
Yeah.
I'm not enough until I go get 2 master's degrees and spend 4 years of my life and a boatload of money to get these 2 degrees. And then obviously, it propelled me to the Asia Pacific region. But Joanne, I'm like, did I really need to go and get 2 graduate degrees, or could I have just found another way to, still get my goal accomplished, but not have to feel like, oh my God, I had to like do more, or as we say, like overcompensate. Right.
Yeah. But I always feel like when in moments like that, right, you can't overthink it.
Right.
I always tell people one of the biggest hurdle in accomplishing anything, whether you're opening a business or building something new or getting a promote, is that don't overanalyze. Because you miss out on the timing.
That's right.
And if you overthink, sometimes you just won't know. You won't know until you get in there, jump in both feet.
Yeah, it's analysis paralysis.
Yeah,
because you spend so much time like thinking and and even just like for me, Joanne, like you and I, we've talked about like, oh my God, I want to like podcast and let's share our stories and share something. Like finally, we were able to like just say, you know what, screw it, let's just come in. I was like, girl, I'll bring my equipment and then let's just chat. And remember, you were like, oh my God, should there be an outline? I was like, nah. We got this. So to that point, right? Sometimes we overthink it, and especially with sometimes like even just doing the things like you've always wanted to try a new hobby or like create a podcast or start a business. Sometimes we feel like we're not enough, and then we feel like, oh my God, but what about this? And then as Joanne mentioned, like you overthink it, and then you just end up like not doing anything.
Right. And like I said, right? Like, I mean, I feel like when you think too much and you overanalyze things, you miss out on the opportunity to actually just get it done.
Just do it.
Just get it done. Yes. Yeah. And you talk about, your masters, having your double degrees and all that. I think you made the right choice at the right time when you're doing that, because then if you never did it, then you wouldn't know what would come out of it.
Absolutely.
But now you know, right? Like for me, when I'm making decisions or when I'm opening another location and everyone was like, oh my God, like GMM, Good Morning Maxwell, has only been open for 3 years. Now you have 3, now you have 4. And they always think like, what goes on in your head when you open? Like, are you scared? I'm like, absolutely, I'm scared. That's a big responsibility to open every single time. More pressure for me to make sure it's successful, that it works and this and that. But at the same time, one thing I've learned is whenever I say yes to something, I ask myself, what's the worst thing that could happen?
I do the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah. What's the worst thing that could happen? Yeah. And if that bad thing, right, that may or may not happen isn't really too bad, then what?
To your point, Joanne. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And to your point, it's always like, okay, well, what's the worst that could happen? You kind of prepare yourself for it, but then you also then plan for those ways to kind of maneuver around it. Yeah. Like
I have
a
my
backup plan kind of.
Plan A to plan D always, if this doesn't work out, then I do this and then I do this. Because, the moment that you identify what the bad thing that could happen, right? The worst thing that could happen if you do pursue that, the next question would be, well, what do you do if it does happen?
Then what?
Right?
Yeah.
So you come up with like 2 to 3 solutions as to like, the hypothetical situations that could occur. And you just like figure it out. And, another thought too, he talked about imposter syndrome. I don't know if it's women in general or, but it's just something that is so common amongst women starting their own business. And also in the workplace, whenever they are given an opportunity or a position. I remember, talking about pursuing higher education. So I was able to do a short program over at Yale before I had left the Parks. And I called my cousin actually. Right before like the last week of it, I flew into New Haven to meet the rest of my classmates, right? And everyone were executives. It was an executive class, and everyone was so accomplished. And the night before, I couldn't sleep because I was in my hotel room with all like the lanyards and everything. You're going to meet everyone. You're going to graduate that day, and all I could think about is like, who am I? Like these women that I'm going to be sitting across from, or beside, who's going to be beside me, or the VP of Coca-Cola, the deputy in chief of New York Times, and someone from the UN. It was just like, here I am, little Asian American.
Yeah. Sometimes you feel like, wait, am I really in this room with these people?
Right.
But that's like the comparison monster that we talk about, right? Because then what happens is you start comparing yourself to like other people's accomplishments and other people's journeys. And Joanne, one of the things I had to kind of snap myself out of a lot of times was like, my journey is my journey, and sometimes like going back as a woman, like, oh, like I made a choice not to be a mother, like not to have children, and my husband and I, we talk about that too. And that was, it was, it's a mutual decision. But then also too, sometimes what happens is you get other people's expectations of what, what you should be or what you should do. And it used to bother me a lot, to be honest. And sometimes I would feel, like
Catholic guilt.
Right. And sometimes I would feel like I'm not enough. Or sometimes I would feel like, oh my gosh, but to your point, that imposter syndrome,
it's strong.
What I've learned from other books and podcasts that I've consumed is that it really is just about competency and confidence. So once you, like, say, for example, like you said, you're in a room full of these executives, but once you get to like that level of competency, we're like, wait, I know what you know. You know what I know. Why do I need to feel like I shouldn't be here?
And really, a lot of it too is that the monster, right? It's all in our heads. It's all in our heads. No one's thinking that. And the only person thinking about that you're not enough or that you're not deserving to be there is yourself. Because no one else is thinking that around you. So why are you thinking about it?
Exactly,
And
Joanne.
so the day before the first day that I meet everybody, I called my cousin, like I said, she lived in the area, and I was just like, I don't think I should be here. Like, why would it? And she was just like, no, you were meant to be there. First of all, you're already there.
Yeah, she's like, no, you deserve to be here, damn it.
You got in the program, you're there, and just enjoy your time and embrace it. And when I met everybody, I have to say, like, the best, most inspiring women, really life-changing moment for me when I met all of them and I saw my name in that classroom and I met the professors in person. It was just so inspiring. And all I could think about it, that whole time is, what was I so scared about?
It's that fear until you face the fear, and then you go. And then imagine if you didn't, Joanne. Imagine if you did let your fear take over. You would have never had this incredible experience.
Right.
So,
Absolutely.
Well, I guess in wrapping up, like, what are 3 key takeaways that you want to share from the eyes of Joanne Tan? Like, just anything on being, a business owner, being, a mom, being a community member, entrepreneur.
I guess let's start with the community, right? And building a business. One thing I've learned, let's just go with what I've really learned and what I embrace now as a 100% self-employed business owner, is that you have to build allies. You have to have allies.
Yeah, we all do. Yeah, that's right.
Being a business owner is lonely. And, like my last CEO was always telling me, it's like feeding a monster. You got to constantly feed it. You got to constantly create new things, innovate, and keep up with the times and make sure that you're relevant. And it's hard when you're talking to yourself. You're brainstorming.
You're still a preneur.
You're brainstorming with yourself. And and this is why our new AAPI mastermind group that we created, that we started, that little community that we started, is something that I'm really excited about, because
me too.
You need partners. And they don't have to be, employed with you, or they don't have to be in your business, but you need strong partners who will keep you sane, who will keep you inspired, who will keep you fueled and motivated.
Yeah.
And as always, same thing with being in the corporate world, is that you have to have a strong team.
Yeah.
Because
and I think too, to the point about like, as you're sharing, as in allies and your support system is really important.
Yeah.
What other key takeaways would you?
With family, right? Let's go community, family, and then self. With family, yes, you're absolutely right. I'm very lucky that my family, my husband, is very supportive of me being self-employed. When you're self-employed, they're like, of course you missed a paycheck.
Of course.
You receive every 2 weeks. You don't have to worry when you're. Yeah,
it's comfortable. Yeah,
it's comfortable. But there's so much growth and excitement that you can get in being uncomfortable.
Yeah.
In the small business world, and the type of opportunities and the type of adventures that you're able to experience it's just not comparable to many things. And my partner, my husband, is very supportive. He has a full-time day job.
Well, yeah, I mean, but to that point, you need that team support, right? You guys are a team,
right? And both my boys, Liam, Maxwell, and my husband helps me out a lot at my spaces. Building furniture and
absolutely
bringing things in and out, moving things in and out.
It's a family business.
It is a family business. My son would water all the plants. So I'm like, Liam, the plant is dying. Make sure you're watering it well. Yes, they're very supportive, but yes, having a strong support system, and not just home, with your friends, and I always tell my friends, you don't have to book, you don't have to buy, just like be there. Just be present. And when I'm crying, asking, should I go back and join the workforce again, the day, get a day job again? Just tell me, please. Like, no. Stick with it.
Stick with it, Joanne.
Stick with it. Yep. Yeah. And then lastly, for yourself, right? For oneself.
Yeah, your self-care. What do you do?
Funny you ask me this one, because it's a realization that I just recently got when I started calendar blocking 1 hour a day to do exercise.
Good.
So 8:30 to 9:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Shout out to my gym. I would go in for 45 minutes to an hour to just exercise and allow myself to really just shut down from everything else. And meditate.
You need that.
Yeah, meditate while working out. I'm on the treadmill. I'm listening to my podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Brendan Burchard.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I listen to him too. Well, shout out to Brendan Burchard.
Yeah. All my, my self-help podcast. But
it's important.
Yeah. Because like you cannot pour out from an empty cup. Right?
Thank you.
And as together, our instinct is to always help everyone else, always give what we can, always, like we talk about, having a hard time saying no. I was in a meeting with a general manager actually here in a local hotel in Livermore. And she said, no is an acceptable answer.
Yeah. And that's okay.
And when she mentioned that to me, I'm like, yes.
You're like,
yes, it is. Yeah. So I've decided, and this is something, it's a practice. You can't just do it one time or once a week. Like it's a practice that you have to take care of yourself so you can take care of others.
And Joanna, and I love that you time block, because when you time block, then you treat it like a business meeting.
Yes.
You treat it like a client meeting.
Yes.
Right. And so I love that you do that. I think it's so important. And I started doing that as well. Yeah, because you do need that like 1 hour or 2 hours where you block your calendar, you silence your phone, you just literally retreat back into yourself. And whether it's a book or a podcast or you just need like that moment. It's so important, Joanne, because to your point, you're pouring out so much for everybody else.
Right.
You need to refuel.
Yeah. And I think the bottom line is you cannot give when you have nothing left in you. to
That's
give.
so true.
You know?
That's so true.
And I think, you know, it's like life lessons from Sophie and Joanne.
Yes. So Joanne, first of all, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I learned so much more about you in this interview. And I hope that we can do it again. And maybe, you know, we'd love to get some feedback on topics that maybe our audience members would like to just kind of, you know, for us to chat about. But other than that, Joanne, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And again, this is the beautiful Good Morning Maxwell event space in downtown Livermore. And,
we have,
hit her up.
Well, quick plug.
No, do
we
it.
have multiple locations now. We have Livermore, Pleasanton, the brand new Brentwood. And then we also have a wedding venue in Lodi called The Terrace. It's a beautiful 3-acre walnut orchard that has an Airbnb and salon. So come visit us, goodmorningmaxwell.com. And thank you for this opportunity. I don't think I've sat down for an hour and talk about 37 years.
It won't be the last. So we're gonna bring Joanne back on. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining. And until next time, bye.